Some of you wanted to see a few more videos on the rusty Geo Metro that I'm trying to save, so I'll show you where I'm at right now. This whole corner of the car is going to have to be cut out and rebuilt somehow, so I can reattach this lower control arm. I started unbolting the gas tank, and surprisingly the bolts actually came out, even though the 14mm heads are now 12mm. Obviously there's going to be some mouse nests, and of course I found one right there. I also took some penetrating oil and put it on all of the fittings for the brake lines. I don't know how well that's going to work, but it would be nice if I were able to save at least a couple. I dug this funny little spare tire out to access the wiring for the fuel pump, and surprisingly it's even smaller than the tires that are already on the car. And of course another enormous nest underneath of that. Over there in the corner you can see the problem area, and that's where I'm going to have to start rebuilding. That'll be the foundation for everything that I put on after. And that right there is the wiring for the fuel pump that I have to disconnect. I'm really happy that I found this in here. I don't know what I'm going to do with it since I understand this car pretty good, but it might be helpful in the future. I've chosen this 2013 Ford Econoline van as a donor for the metal I'm going to need to rebuild my Geo Metro. I have no money to put into this thing, and even if I did, I don't think anyone makes replacement structural pieces for 93 Geo. And it has to be automotive steel. These floorboards in these Econoline vans are very solid, and they are automotive steel. They will make good replacement parts. I'll cut out the replacement panels and shape them as closely as I possibly can. It is not a show car. It will not be perfect when I'm done. I just need it to be strong, and I need to stop the rust. There's that fuel leak that was making me so uncomfortable. I'll deal with that before I put the tank back in. Now that the gas tank's down, I'm going to have to get all of this stuff out of there. There's nothing over here that I plan on using, but I can't break out the power tools until everything flammable is out of the way. That gas is very old, but it does still run the car, so I imagine it could set something on fire. There's no carpet in the floor pan above it, so I'm not worried about starting a fire up there with the heat, but I do worry about setting the gasoline here on fire. Now that it's tore down to this point, I can start cutting metal out, but before I do that, I want to try to copy this piece here and the same on the other side, as well as this section right here. Those aren't the parts that I'm going to install first, but I want to copy these as closely as possible where they're at, so everything goes right back where I found it. It's the same thing over here. I want to make this structural section first before I remove that control arm so that I know everything's going to line up when I rebuild the floor pan and this double layered floor pan right here. There we are. I cut some metal out of the way, and I was surprised to find that the area the front of that control arm mounts welded to is still in good shape, and I can easily attach the new one in the same place. There's also enough material at the rear for me to work with. All I need to do is get the rust off this, reinforce it and close it in, and I can run a piece of steel from here to there, maybe a piece of C-channel. Then there needs to be one more support from here over to that. Happy day! Once I've addressed those three items, I can finish cutting out the rusty sheet metal and make a patch for the inner floor pan. Then I have to make the outer floor pan, and this side is structurally sound. After that, I go over to the other side and do a similar job. Happy day! I'm not too concerned with this inner rocker panel right now. I imagine in the future I'm going to want to put rockers on this car, and that'll be the time to address all of that. All I'm messing with right now is this control arm support right here.